drugs for tomorrow. Tomorrow, bet your bottom dollar there'll be more drugs for tomorrow. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Glad you made it. It's another social production. We're doing it again. Dunna, baby. It is January 12th, Wednesday, halfway through the week, 2022. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, everybody, hope you're all doing well. Hope everybody's safe and sound wherever you are in and around this planet. The little blue marble, aka home. Hope everybody's safe and sound, man, wherever you are. Longtime viewers and listeners, thank you very much for all the love and support. If you're a newbie, thank you very much for joining me today. On the Instagrams, on the YouTubes, or on the Patreon, you can find your boy Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Today's gonna be, most of the time we have a pretty loosey-goosey agenda around this joint. Today we're gonna keep it loosey-goosey, but we're just gonna have a little fun. Maybe go a little bit on-roading, off-roading, on-roading, off-roading. We'll go off script, we'll go on script. We'll go in different directions. We're gonna see where it takes us. Got a bunch of different stuff that I want to discuss with everybody today. So, I've been doing, as per usual, been doing a little bit of research, a little bit of writing, a little bit of thinking, a little bit of just, trying to find ways of doing it better. That's what it is. I hope you guys enjoyed today's show, and we're gonna go ahead and get started with a little piece that I wrote, and hope you guys like it. Let's just get right into it. Let's get right into it, baby. If you haven't peed, go pee. Or better yet, I've been a huge advocate of this. Just if you're tuning in, if you don't want to pee, strap on a pair of adult diapers and pair of diapers and just get comfortable is all I'm trying to say. All right, you know what? Forget the diapers. Just let it go. Just become. I don't know where I was going with that one. Just be comfortable is all I'm trying to say. Grab yourself a drink. Grab yourself a cup of coffee, some munchies. Call the folks. Call the gang. Call the crew. And let's get into it, baby. So this is, bunch of different stuff. I wrote a little something. We're gonna go verbatim for a portion, and then we'll go off script for the remainder of the show. Hope you guys like it. Let's get started. All right, what do we write? Ever wonder what happens if you were to overdose on poutine? We sent our reporter to go undercover so we get a better understanding of the situation. When I first got assigned with the task, it's actually a funny story because I'd given up becoming a journalist. With all the fake news, it was hard to do the job and still have some remaining sense of worth. I'd packed my Samsonite with my Apple, and I'm not talking about my laptop, straight up Garden of Eden, forbidden fruit sort of situation. You know how journalists have that reputation of being bad boys. I was about to leave my office when our senior editor came in and said, "I got an assignment for you." I said, "Not now, Patrick. Not now." "I think my run is over." He said, "Kid, this here is a story of a lifetime. The Quebec premier has lost his mind, and we're going to need you to get to the bottom of this." I was resistant at first, of course. That half-eaten apple was all I could think of. But I said, "All right, Patrick, I'll cover your damn story, but under one condition." He said, "Name it, kid." I said, "If we're gonna do this, we're gonna do it my way. And when I say we, I mean me. I'm gonna wanna go alone. No backup, no support. Things might get hairy. I don't want any other lives to be in danger." He rested his arm on my shoulder and said, "Rest assured there will be no support, no backup. You know the small newspaper business is on its last leg. Since everyone's online, we're a small business, and we're like the Cross River gorilla or the Hawksbill sea turtle. We're going extinct. We're going the way of the blip." Sure, when it was all new and exciting, we were all like, "Let's ride this thing." It was the 20s after all. Everybody was trying it. We thought the ride will never end. We thought that balloon would just keep on rising up. And now, kid, You're the last airship captain, and this pony is our last ride. Man, I really have terrible handwriting, you guys. I said, all right. I grabbed my newsy cap, rolled up my long sleeves, tucked my pants in my socks, and got to work. What could lead a man to insanity? How did the Quebec Premier and others like him in the political arena lose their minds? Well, we have to deduce. Classic deducing. Ask yourself this: could you find something that's never been there in the first place? How do we know they've lost their minds? Did they have minds to begin with? Take it back to the basics. Notes, documents, smoke-filled rooms, opening and closing drapes, documents, papers, old telephones attached to a landline, real shit, papers, ashtrays, filled to the ceiling with ash. We had ash columns, green table lamps, the ones that are like made of cheap bronze looking metal, maybe with fake green velvet and a casing to go over the lamp, the kind where the lamp sits on your table and the head is stationary. Pros: the light will never be overbearing. Cons: the head is stationary, and what if you needed to move the light? Now your hand's forced to physically move the whole lamp. Does everyone know what I'm talking about? This kind of lamp you'd find in a local library, maybe. The kind that's yet to feel the benefits of the trickle-down effect. A brown table. Didn't start brown. It was actually 70s orange, but being placed right by the window, it got discolored. Things happen. And you're like, man, shouldn't that thing fade and maybe turn yellow? Listen, the table tried its best, and that's all we can ask for. All the elements were there. We had all their faces pinned to the wall. First, the pictures were scattered, so we had to work one at a time. First, we made a square with all the pictures. No bueno. Then we made a rectangle. Ah, dead end. We're never gonna get to the bottom of this. At last, through hours of cigs and coffee, and some 80 proof, we managed to make a triangle. A hierarchy. We made a hierarchy. It was all top down as far as the eye can see. I tell you once, if I could tell you 1,000 times, it was all beginning to make sense now. Under the triangle was a map of the city. I used pins and red string to make connections, loops, lines, more triangles. Triangles up top, triangles down to the bottom. Must have been 5:30 a.m. and I said I need to catch my breath and refuel. No point in moving forward on an empty stomach is what I said to myself. As I left the building, I could smell the fresh batch of poutine being made, dancing through the streets and entering my nose holes. Ah, at last, something that makes sense. Food! Pure Canadian poutine, fresh out of water, farm to table. I exited the building and turned the corner. I let my nose lead me to the source. With every step, the smell of freshly opened bags of processed frozen potatoes topped off with everyday consumer's choice. I can't believe it's not cheese, 100% pure cheese melted on top. With some mystery goop gravy, of course. Need I say more? I was excited. I was in a haze. And as I approached the poutine truck, I froze. Am I seeing this right? Could it be that I've not slept for 72 hours and I'm now feeling exhausted and my mind's playing tricks on me? Snap out of it, man. You're home now, you're home. I was flashing back and forth between Nam and what was going on right in front of me. I pinched myself to make sure I'm not dreaming. There he was, standing right by the poutine truck, the Quebec Premier, stuffing his face whole with poutine as if he never had poutine before, as if he was just breaking his hunger strike or something. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. forkfuls of poutine. And he was just jamming it up his throat, putting it in his ear, stuffing it all the way up in his nose, breathing, panting, and chanting. Unvaxxed tax, unvaxxed tax. Foaming at the mouth. Unvaxxed tax, he'd say. Like a rabid coon in the eve of the night, marking his territory, swallowing without chewing. I felt bad for him. I thought of where I started, finding myself having to ask the first question that I posed. Was there ever a mind to be lost in the first place? I tried an old trick that I picked up while traveling through Eastern Europe. Legend had it that if you were to ever come across such lost souls, you are to remain calm, do not approach them, do not make eye contact. Don't make any sudden movements either. There's an ancient phrase used by the locals so to treat the ones that have fallen under the spell. Take 3 steps back, spit over your left shoulder, spit over your right shoulder. Snap your fingers 3 times and say, wake up, wake up, wake up. Or was it take 3 steps forward, spit over your right shoulder, spit over your left shoulder, and say, wake up, wake up, wake up. I can't remember. They say he's still roaming loose, foaming at the mouth, swirling a forkful of poutine up his nose. Was it his parents? Was it his innate makeup? Did he get bullied when he was younger? Was he not loved? Was he loved too much? Reporting from the Real Gazette from Toronto. Back to you, Francine. And that is that, friends, family. That's what we do around here, baby. We just let it fly. That was a little piece that I had to write. Just get it off my shoulders, get it off my chest. Man, because, you know, the Quebec premiere in Toronto, in Canada, my bad. Quebec premiere in Canada, what's his name? Francois Legault, bro. Legault proposed that we go ahead and tax the unvaxxed, is what he said. Where do we find these people? These completely detached people from reality. You know, these longtime politicians to get in. Like, how do we? But that's all right. What I recommend we do is, you know how on shows, so I've heard, it used to be a thing. I don't know if it's still a thing. It should definitely be a thing, but we should remove it from the show aspect of entertainment, bring it up on certain arenas or stages rather, and make it applicable there. You know, there used to be a thing that if you got a poor performance or if you did something, if you were in an act on stage and if things weren't going well, you know, people would start chucking tomatoes, you know, a half-eaten potato, something, dude. They chuck something at you, or at last resort, if you're terrible, you'd get a large hook, and they'd be like, get the hook, get the hook, get the hook. Get the hook is all I'm trying to say. Maybe introduce a new mechanism in terms of dealing with, because like in a lot of places where it's relatively lower stakes, like obviously high stakes, I'm talking about like professional athletes doing professional athleticism, right? Going out on the pitch, kicking a soccer ball, throwing a football, throwing a fastball and a curveball, diving on. There are rules and regulations, and there are referees, and there are red cards, and there are yellow cards, and there are fouls, and then there's things that you could do to kind of like mitigate, you know, people breaking the rules, or people you know, trying to cheat, you know. And this is what it is. I feel like we need something, but it's the long old question of, you know, you need a dog watch in society, but then you need a dog watch to watch the dog watch, and then another dog watch to watch the other dog watch who's watching the first dog watch. But be careful of that third dog watch watching the second dog watch watching the first dog watch. You might be in need of a fourth dog watch to get the dog watches all in check. A lot of dog watches. Watching dogs, man. All I'm trying to say is that sometimes, you have people who are just divisive, who are, I read this and I'm like, man, do I give it any attention? Do I not give it any attention? If we ignore it, will it go away? This is the thing, we keep on hearing more and more in because that's what it is, man. The news is so, yeah, dicey, dude. The news is dicey these days. You can't really, it's hard to, it's, I'm the one that I like to be able to, hopefully, if I can, challenge the status quo a little bit, because it's always one rhetoric, it's always one form of, and it's just this just baffled my mind. I'm like, how do you put something like that out there? How do you, going after the most, probably already marginalized portion of the population, as if they've, and here we're not anti-vax, not in the slightest form, dude. I'm all about like medicine, science. Most people are. I've yet to actually find somebody who's like anti-vax, if that even makes, because that's like, we all grow up benefiting from modern medicine. You grow up on this, that, and the other. So that narrative is so old, and it's so I think about that kind of stuff. I'm like, what's the reason behind something like this coming out, or more stories like this? And this is, I'm very disappointed in the way our government officials have been, running the show. It's but stuff like this just makes me. We should point it out. We should talk about it, because this took, if there are rewards for, making the most retarded statements this particular week, I think Francois Lego probably gets the award, or if it's an annual, if there's an annual race to say the most retarded things. I think right now our guy in like Quebec's been having a very, it's tough right now in Quebec. It's not been easy, but you can't look at the symptoms and think that, only focusing on the symptom and actually, not even paying attention to what caused this situation, who. It's heartbreaking in a sense, but also kind of expected. I don't expect politicians to be very truthful. I don't expect the corporate media to be very honest and truthful. And I certainly don't believe in big, large companies, whether they're pharmaceuticals or giant tech or fucking oil whatever it is, man. Like, I just, yeah, so more people need to just, call out BS on BS. And again, I just quickly, you look at somebody, you do a little search, nothing even like too in depth, but you're like, man, this guy's like a multi-millionaire, at least what's declared on the records, 9.5 to $10 million worth of assets, and just fully detached from everyday life and struggles, and even the notion of like, what it means to be a human and have autonomy over your body, your information, your overall being. It's a little bit disheartening, but it's not expected from politicians. So I think the award for the worst premier, if there were awards right now, I think the Quebec premier is probably off to a good start right now, killing it, dude, killing it with the divisive notions and ideas. Because you can see how little thought it's been given, because it's so easy to just, do we go around, taxing the obese for the extra cost that they exert on the healthcare system? Do we go out, and that's not even the right way of thinking about it, because no, we should all pitch in together. We are all a society made up of different people with different needs, whether it's medical, whether it's spiritual, whether it's intellectual, physical, financial, whatever it is. We're all so different, but you shouldn't penalize people for their differences and their rights, which is just so un-Canadian. It's so un-Canadian. I can't even like. And people should be worried about these things or not. Like, we should be thinking about these things. We're in a very decisive period in our history right now, where we get to decide what kind of future we're gonna have and what kind of future our potential kids have or grandkids, and it's up to all of us. So in certain I don't know. Do we need more again? Is it more watchdogs to watch the watchdogs? Do we need to get the hookup points? Do we need to, what is it? What is it with these? Because that's the thing. These guys are just sometimes unbelievable. Unbelievable, dude. Weird shit. It's, just doesn't make any sense. Other than the fact that you know you're going to get a rise out of people, you know you're going to get people upset, and other than, it's just, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. But again, if there were a reward for most retarded statements or just being, there are people who are for the people, and then there are people who are definitely not for the people, and this dude definitely not for the peepsies. It's clear as daylight. And with that being said, we're going to change gears right now. We're going to change gears. And I want to read you guys a little article that I found interesting on The Guardian. And we'll get into it. So the title of the article is More People is the Last Thing This Planet Needs. The Men Getting Vasectomies to Save the World. Again, it's on The Guardian. I'm going to read the article and then we'll briefly have a little chit chat about it because it's interesting. With the climate crisis becoming ever more urgent, a growing number of young childless men are taking drastic decision of being sterilized for environmental reasons. When Lloyd Williamson lay on his back in a GP's clinic late last November, it was for the surgical culmination of years of soul searching. Williamson, who is 30 and from Essex, remembers wanting a family as a child, but something changed in his early 20s. I thought, you know what? I don't want to bring a life into this world because it's pretty shitty as it is, and it's only getting worse, he says, 2 weeks after his vasectomy. Williamson was largely motivated to sterilize himself by the climate crisis. Given the link between fossil fuel economic growth and population growth, he believes that having fewer children is one thing individuals can do to help. We can't offset our carbon problem on the next generation because it's not fair on them, he says. Williamson, who works as a data support officer for Essex County Council, he stood unsuccessfully as a Green Party councillor in Chelmsford in 2019, says he knows of other young childless men who are thinking of doing the same thing. While reliable data on vasectomy numbers and motivations is scant, there is growing evidence to suggest that all over the world men without children are taking direct action. Nick Demedic, an Australian GP and one of the world's most prolific vasectomy clinicians, says most of his patients are fathers over the age of 35, but the doctor, who has completed more than 40,000 procedures since 1981, now estimates that about 200 of the 4,000 patients his clinic sees each year are younger men without kids, after 130 of them say they are doing it for the planet. In the old days, it was purely lifestyle, Demedic says, of his younger childless patients. They wanted to travel the world, work hard, and not be stuck with a kid, and that has shifted probably over the past 3 or 4 years to where the environment is now the dominant reason. It should not be surprising that a generation with increased awareness of the climate emergency is asking big questions about traditional family structures. 2019, the then 29-year-old U.S. Congresswoman AOC held back tears as she gave a speech about the climate emergency. I speak to you as a human being, a woman whose dreams of motherhood now taste bittersweet because of what I know about our children's future, she told the Summit of Mayors in Copenhagen. Our actions are responsible for bringing their most dire possibilities into focus. A study in 2017 said the single most effective action an individual could take in terms of helping the planet was having one fewer child. This would save more than 25 times the emission of the next big undertakings, living without a car and avoiding long-haul flights. Prince Harry cited the climate when he revealed in 2019 interview with Vogue that he would not be having more than 2 children. Matthew Schneider Mayerson, an associate professor of environmental studies at Yale and U.S. College in Singapore, is the author of the forthcoming book about eco-reproductive choice. Last year, he carried out a detailed survey of 600 people aged 27 to 45 who were worried about the climate crisis. Of these, 96% worried that their children would struggle to thrive and even survive the worst-case climate scenarios, while 60% were concerned about the carbon footprint of their potential offspring. Marison has not explored the rise of the climate sectomy. It may still be a niche choice, often informed by other factors, including a broader ambivalence about raising children, but it raises ethical and political questions, including about controversial overpopulation ideologies, as well as the practical consequences of generationally imbalanced societies. Apart from anything, Marison says it's sad that people are being forced to factor climate change into their decision. And that's basically what I wanted to share with you guys. You can go ahead and read the entire article. I don't want to spend, there's about, maybe we read through 3/4 of it, but what I wanted, it was just interesting to me because, growing up, I've always given this a lot of thought myself. I'm like, do I want kids? Do I not want kids? For a long time, I was a believer that it was my own thought or intention of not wanting to have children, and a lot of it is, but I want to just, in parentheses, maybe just put in or highlight one of the major reasons for me, for this guy, not wanting kids. Growing up, we weren't like, I don't, probably if I were to put it in a category, I'd say maybe lower middle class, if that was a thing. Never poor, but never comfortable middle class, or never like upper class by any stretch of the imagination. But in terms of, if you want to look at it from a class perspective, or if you want to look at it just from a socioeconomic perspective, I never put myself in a category I'm like, oh, I have abundance, I have, I don't need to worry about money. So one of the biggest things growing up for me was always, I don't want to ever, because I saw, family, friends, all, everybody's families growing up with different amounts of resources, give or take. But then I saw, as you experience life, you go through different stages of life. Everybody, you go to school, some kids have a lot more, some kids have a lot less. And it was one of those things that stuck in my mind. And not that it's the most important thing, of course not. I think a huge component of a family is probably like the loving component of a family. It doesn't matter how much money you have, but for me, it was one of those things where I'm like, I'm never gonna bring a kid into the world or start a family not knowing that I could fully financially support everybody, because I don't want, I'd seen enough for that to be my decision. It still remains that way. I got and if it never happens, it never happens. It's never been a priority for me. But one of my major reasons was making sure that if I do decide to start a family, I want to have enough resources so that I could provide. That was the major issue. Now, this article was interesting for me because this to me is just one of these other themes of, I guess, maybe that could be put under the umbrella term as maybe transhumanist, moving in a direction where humans are becoming more and more integrated with technology, and our overall rights and freedoms as what it means to be a human is being reduced and removed one step at a time, or at least attempts are being made, right? And everybody's trying their best to, create a balance, find that sweet zone. But it just seems to me that it's very strange how some ideas get sold to the public, and we end up believing that it's our ideas, that it's our innate beliefs, that we're doing the right thing. And for whatever reason your reason might be, I had the same notion when I was growing up, when I thought I'm going to becoming a vegetarian for 2 years, and I did it. And I thought my reason was not, it wasn't mainly health or anything like that. For me, I saw it as like, oh, I don't want to hurt animals. That was my mentality when I was younger. But, realistically, you grow up and we've been consuming meat forever. So it wasn't benefiting me from a health stance to be a vegetarian. So I'm just like, you know what, tried it for 2 years, but this is not right for me. Now, when it comes to not having kids, I'm not there at all. But one thing and that's fine if you don't want to have kids because you think your kid's gonna become, their footprints, their carbon footprint's going to be giant. For some reason, you have this thought that it's, individuals contributing the most, and together collectively we are, of course, but the biggest contributors to climate change, right, are large corporations. It's not you and me living our everyday lives. It's, we don't pollute the rivers, we don't, cut down massive amounts of forestry, we don't dump all sorts of nasty stuff into the water. Sure, it trickles down from us individually as well, but the big contributors to emissions are large corporations. That's the reality of the matter. Now, for us to undertake this responsibility, it feels to me that the responsibility is being shifted instead of it being focused on the corporations, the huge companies, and it's being placed upon the shoulders of individuals, where now you're having to become responsible for everything and even being punished for it, as the whole narrative is going towards a direction of essentially your existence is kind of a nuisance. It's kind of you're hurting the environment. You're costing money. You're costing the healthcare system money. You're costing this money. It seems like, and these are all, if you really sat down and thought about it, it seems to me at least that it's very counterintuitive. I think, again, we're all one with nature. I'm a huge appreciator of nature, dude. I fucking love Mama Nature. Shout out to Mama Nature all day, every day. Go hug a tree. But for us to take on this burden and then have to go down different paths, and then you see it happening little by little in different realms too. But this is just a new one where they're trying to motivate people, I guess, especially younger generations, and having them take on that responsibility, go out there and get vasectomies. It just seems to me that it's a little bit drastic. It seems to me that it's something that you may want to postpone until later on in life if you really wanted to, because there have always been alternative methods. You can always just wrap it up, baby, wrap it up. Use the pull-out method. And I don't believe in if you want to start a family, I don't believe in the argument that says, kids will get in the way of having fun. Like, it's a little baby. You feed them a little milk, you change a couple of diapers. If you got enough resources, you can do all that stuff comfortably. Feed them, clothe them, give them a good education, and make sure they're into like good hobbies and whatnot. But other than that, it's not. It seems to me that the climate crisis should not be a factor for you to think about when you're having kids. If you don't want to have kids, just don't have kids. But don't bring the climate into it, because a baby, a person, is not that. These are gonna just. It seems to me that yes, of course, we should all be. I'm a big believer of moderation. Don't go out there having I don't know, to each their own though. Like, if you want to have 10 kids, by all means, have 10 kids. But, for somebody, it just seems funny when they say, oh, Prince Harry's given a interview in Vogue magazine, which we all know is just, directly associated with everything that's got to do with our, the Vogue is, it comes down with societal issues, and Vogue, inseparable. It's where you go to find good information. But it's just, it's just so funny to me that, and I don't know people personally, right? I'm sure if I met the guy, probably a decent guy, probably a nice guy, no qualms. But a prince of any, or a princess, these, people of ample amounts of affluence and just fucking resources, like your grandma, your family owns, what is it, 1/6 of the world land or something? And you saying I'm only gonna have 2 kids. Let's stop. I don't need you to come out there and do whatever you want to do. And I thought the whole point of them, especially again, not coming down on anybody, but I thought that whole separation with Prince Harry and what's his wife's name, the actress from Suits, Meghan Markle, that lady. I thought they wanted to separate from the family so they avoid the tabloids and the news and to go do their own thing. And to each their own. I guess you're gonna always remain public figures in some sense, but it just seems like, go do your, do your charity work on the DL, dude. I don't need to know about your opinion. You come from so much affluence and so much privilege. Like, you deciding to have two children, only two kids, is first of all pretty fucking normal. So like, don't give yourself a pat on the back for only having two kids. That's like legit most people. If you have two kids, pretty normal. Okay, there. So you're not chipping away at the status quo with only having two kids and access to ample amounts of land and resources. All right, there, Tiger. That's that. Still love you. Don't know you. As a human to human, I still think you'd probably be normal and decent if we kicked it. But that being said, it's just certain, just food for thought. It's just my opinions. Whatever, it is what it is. It's funny to me when like people, anybody, whether it's a prince or a king or a queen or people of, again, the premier sitting in millions of dollars of money and resources and just being very comfortable telling other people how to live their life, and that you are the, people are, we need to worry about the population. And I don't think we have enough people. I don't think we have too little people either. Just let it be. And this climate crises, for you to, as an individual, to be like, oh, I don't want any kids because what's your kid gonna do? Is your kid chain smoking six from the age of like 2 or something? Are they coming out there? Are your kids into fracking? Are your kids into, are they creating large corporations and just pouring all sorts of waste into the river? Like, what kind of kids? Like, I don't want to have a kid because, man, that kid's gonna have a large footprint. What? Like, that's the thing. I'm all about that. I think our generation, like, and each generation it gets better, but I'm a person that likes to think that, I consider a lot of things before, in terms of like that have heavy repercussions. Like, one of the biggest things is starting a family, and I've given that quite a bit of thought, and I still do, and I will always keep monitoring that bad boy. But I don't, if I'm not gonna have kids, it's not because of the climate, dude. It's legit because I don't have like 3 mil in the bank, so don't want to risk it right now. Daddy's getting the cheese, baby. You just wait in there. Or something, man. I don't know. Just spitball ideas out there, fellas, ladies. Or it's like, people doing things for, like, just do whatever you want to do, but do it for yourself. You don't want to have more than 2 kids, don't have more than 2 kids. You want to be a vegetarian, the world doesn't need to know about it. You wanna do what, like, it's, everybody's looking to be like, getting clapped for, like being special. Oh, you're so special. We're all special, of course, we're all special, but let's also, like, maybe just bring ourselves down to the ground level. Just, I don't know. Just saying, dude. Just saying. All right, next topic that I wanted to talk to you guys about today. Just a little fun little article that I read, and it's not even gonna read this one, but I'll tell you what it's about. It's you guys might have heard about this. Some guy apparently got a pig heart transplant, so legit pig heart transplant. It just made me laugh a little bit because I'm happy, obviously, because there's a human that's alive, but I'm also just like, my mind just goes off into different directions in terms of, man, it sucks to be not a human. It sucks to be an animal. You're not only getting used for food and just like, it's good if you're like, not all animals have it bad, of course, but it's funny to me, man. Pigs back in the day probably just thought the worst thing that could happen to them is, live a life to a certain point and then go off to the local pig mill or farm to get processed in different forms. But now it's we're farming for, I guess we're going to be farming for, and this is not a new topic. We've kind of discussed it before, but it's interesting to still talk about it and see where we're going with this thing, with growing organs inside animals. What kind of rights are we're going into uncharted territories right now. These are all new things, in terms of ethics and morals, and not to be, we're not the most, I don't, to each their own, you live your life, but it's just, for animals, they defend themselves, or like how many times is it fair to, and I don't know the procedure exactly, I don't know how it works, but how many times is it fair to, is even once fair enough to get put an extra or whatever, or like farm animals for their organs, or human organs, or whatever the procedure is. I don't know the exact science behind it, but this is what is happening. And what are the symptoms also, like, because you guys have heard of like muscle memory and shit, right? Kind of, sort of. And like heart's a muscle or an organ, right, if I'm not mistaken. And like you've heard the parallels where like if somebody were to get a heart transplant or another organ transplant from another human being, that they might, through muscle memory or something, carry out maybe not to a full extent, but maybe a small portion of the other person or individuals, whether you want to call it DNA, or again muscle memory, or just information that's in this computer, in this machine, in this vessel that the body bags, the skins, the everything, this whole unit. You wonder, because like if you take a car and you need a new transmission, and you go to a used car and you take out a transmission from a used car that's in relatively decent shape, and you remove that transmission, put it in the other car that needs it, the mileage from that other vehicle is being transferred over. You're not getting a brand new. Maybe that's a bad example, because maybe you can just put in, maybe that's a bad example, but I'm just wondering, what are the symptoms? Like, well, will you, if it was human, you'd maybe have other thoughts or memories, or your arm might twitch in a particular way. Maybe that you got an arm transplant, maybe you got a twitch in your arm, and that fellow or lady used to have a little twitch in their arm. Maybe that's a thing. Maybe all of a sudden you come out a little bit, your thought pattern's different, you're having all sorts of things, memories from the past or whatever, if that's even a thing. But what happens when we're mixing animals into the game now? Are we gonna get like, are we gonna have animalistic muscle memory, dude? Is this fella or other people in the future, are we gonna be like sniffing forests for potential truffles, dude? Because if that's the thing, that's kind of a win-win, dude, because truffles are expensive, I've heard. That's the thing. Are we gonna be, with a piglet or a piggy, rumor has it that they have half-hour-long orgasms. Is that gonna be transferred over? Because pros and cons, that one's leaning heavy on the pro. Just saying. Are you gonna have an inclination to now just you see a puddle, you drop and roll, baby, it's muddy, all of a sudden we're all having fun, isn't it? Isn't it fun rolling around in mud? All of a sudden, wasn't a thing a week ago for you, but now today, all of a sudden this, just saying. Things to look out for, but also at the, and that's the thing, the animal, how many hearts can you pump out of a pig? Is it fair to put them under procedure? We've seen this with this kind of along the lines of also, I guess cloning. I think I posted a video a few weeks ago maybe about dogs being cloned. And it is weird, man. What are we doing? Just things to think about, And again, all of them seem to have this like, just kind of like, we just want to make, part of it, I feel like it's just like us being lazy. Like we don't want to like, we love life, but we don't want to like do the things that it takes to live life. It's like we would rather outsource everything when it comes to food, get it delivered, get it frozen. When it comes to, babies, it's like we're going towards the direction of removing reproduction from the physical realm where it belongs, between the people, moving it towards petri dishes and labs. For better or worse, I don't know. I literally don't know. Maybe that is the future. Maybe that's better. Who knows? My gut tells me it's not. So that's what I'm gonna go with. I think like humans need each other, men and women, and everybody, men and men, women and women, everybody needs each other is what I'm trying to say. Very like just one large family, baby. It's just funny. No, a little bit like, but also at the same time, if it becomes a thing, I think we've mentioned this before, you and I. How much is that pig making? Like, how much bank is the pig making off that extra? Because you know, you got to get some, dude. It can't just be like, are they getting something? Whose pig was it anyway? You know, did the owner get a cut of the check? What I'm trying to get to is, can I have a pig and start farming organs? Can I get a slice of the pie? This pie's dirty. This pie's probably things will get. It's a hairy pie. It's filled with different. You know, our hands are going to be covered in blood consuming this pie. But all right, you know what? I'm going to opt out of this particular pie. But just, you know, food for thought. Letting it just let it simmer on the back burner there. Just you know, and then off to other things. Of course. All right. Next, last but not least, I found this little video on the lines. I think I want to share with you guys, ladies and gentlemen. It's one of those things that both makes me super happy because, well, let's just slightly turn the camera over here so we get a little shot of the. There it is. All right, hope that stays. Now this has apparently been it's been loose on the internet, but I just saw it recently, and it made me laugh and it made me smile, and it is fucking hilarious. But also, well, let's watch it together. Let's watch it together. Famous orangutan driving a golf cart, doing it. What a pimp, dude. Look at this. Woke up this morning, bought yourself a gun, dude. Just rolling like a G. Again, I think this is, I just found a version of this that was up maybe around 7, 8, 10 days ago, but I think the original video might go back to 3 months ago, or maybe even prior to that, but it's the first time that I saw it, and it is fucking hilarious, bro. Look at this chimp, or orangutan rather, doing its driving, baby. As a person who dabbles in the ride-sharing services, I'm both excited to see this, but also very, very happy that I've placed myself in a situation where I hope to be able to venture out into better and finer things, or else it's just literally going to be me and this guy just smoking cigs between our breaks. And it's either, yeah, it'll be between me and this guy, a couple of autonomous vehicles just doing autonomous things, and he's actually got a pretty good handle on things. He is killing it. Now, I don't know who taught this fella right here how to drive, but is he also filing his taxes? Because he's nice with it. Seriously, he's got one hand on the rooftop. He's driving one hand. This is better than most people that I've seen on the streets. So, I don't know, should we be happy about this, or should we just be tightening up the game right now? A lot of questions, a lot of concerns, but it is just, it's a beautiful fucking, look at him, look, or her, I don't know. Very just fucking Zen City driving, baby. He's actually just finishing off a shift right now. He signed up for the app the same reason why most people signed up for the apps. He likes to, or she likes to rather, fan of deciding their own schedule and flexibility. Me and this fella or lady right here, all about the flexibility. It's you're your own boss, is what they said. God. love y'all, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We are in this together, you and I, the regular people on the ground. There are, of course, the, let's call them out. I've been working on this. I think this is their calling. I've been trying, you can make whistle noises or all sorts of sounds, and you can gather animals around you. And let's try to see if we can get the lizard peepsies to come around, dude. I think this should work. I think a whole bunch of them are just now going to the meeting has been. I think that's the way they communicate, and basically they just went to the local meeting grounds. The meeting is on, ladies and gentlemen. They're like, who's calling? Who's calling? Meeting again. We just had a meeting. Oh man, I just called a meeting, dude. Stupid. Oh man. Oh fuck, I hope that's a thing. They're getting all sorts of like mixed signals right now. Oh man. Bring your own adrenochrome. Good to be alive, ladies and gentlemen. You gotta have fun with it, and you gotta just ask questions, stay silly, keep going after it, man. Whatever you guys are into, I support 110%. And thank you for everybody, whoever's been a part of this journey. I really appreciate it. Thank you for letting me be a part of yours. Together we are growing, we are aging, we're getting older, we're getting more wrinkles, we're losing time but gaining experience. That's what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, have fun. See you guys back here again on Friday. In the meantime, live your best lives. Peace out.